needed a hand.
I've been a James Bond fan for as long as I can remember, and honestly, the wait for a truly next-gen 007 experience has felt like a lifetime. When IO Interactive announced 007 First Light, I was beyond excited, but also a bit nervous. Could they capture that magic? Now, I've been going through the latest updates, and I've found 21 crazy confirmed details. So without further ado, let me share what I've found in this video. Meet Bond before he's Bond. The first things that grabbed me about First Light is the timeline. No, we're not jumping into the shoes of a veteran, rather a rough version of James Bond. At the start of the game, he's not even a 00 agent yet. He's shown to be a talented and at the same time dangerously reckless operative, with the game kicking off after a mission in Iceland. Without spoiling too much of the story, that Iceland mission is where James does something so impressive and perhaps a bit out of line that it catches the eye of the higher-ups at MI6. So far, I love this approach because it gives us room to grow.
This city is an extension of my being.
Wait, Lenny Kravitz is the villain? When I first saw the casting, I had to double check. Yes, Lenny Kravitz is stepping into the Bond universe as the main antagonist, a man named Bofma. Bond villains need a certain level of charisma and presence, and Kravitz has that. On the hero side, we have Patrick Gibson taking on the role of a young James Bond. Dexter fans, you know who Patrick is. Non-Dexter fans, you've probably seen him on a show called The OA on Netflix. Not to forget, we'll be interacting with iconic characters like Q and M, though they'll also be younger versions of themselves. Seeing the early days of these relationships is something I'm personally very curious to see play out on screen. What if Hitman had a martini? I was worried that this game might just be Hitman with a different skin, but the developers have been clear. Bond isn't Agent 47. The levels are open-ended, meaning you can approach an objective in dozens of ways. To me, the most exciting part is the observation reward system. The game rewards you for being a spy and looking around and learning the environment, rather than just following a waypoint. It's that feeling of being the smartest person in the room, and I'm all for it. Set pieces straight out of a Bond movie. Even though the game leans into stealth, it wouldn't be a Bond game without holy crap moments. The trailers have already confirmed some massive set pieces that look like they were taken straight from a $200 million blockbuster. We're talking full-blown car chases, a frantic gunfight at an airport, and even a sequence where you have to hack a plane's systems while it's in mid-flight before making a narrow parachute escape. Seeing that parachute open against a sunset? Well, that's the Bond I know and love. Gadgets that would make Q proud. You can't have Bond without gadgets, and First Light seems to be leaning into the functionally cool tech. The Steam page and early descriptions mention some good fun tools. One that stands out to me is a watch that can emit a jet spark. Good for creating distractions and short-circuiting electronics, I guess. We'll find out soon. Then there are the classics like a laser beam for cutting through obstacles, and of course, a variety of high-end vehicles and custom guns. I've always preferred the gadgets that feel like they could exist in the real world, and maybe that's the direction they're heading in. Less shadow, more showdown. Here's where First Light separates itself from the Hitman games. In Hitman, you're encouraged to be a ghost, like someone who was never there. On the other hand, James Bond walks into the front door of a casino and tells everyone his real name. While you can be sneaky, the game is designed to handle aggression much better than Hitman did. You can punch your way through a situation or walk into a room with confidence and bluff your way past guards, chasing a rogue 009 around the world. The plot is going to be a global game of cat and mouse. The main narrative is about James Bond chasing a rogue agent 009 who has gone off the grid and is causing chaos. What I find fascinating about this is that it's someone with the same training as Bond, with maybe more experience. Long story short, a simple hunt turns into a global conspiracy. Where would you actually be playing? I know everyone is wondering about the technical side, so here's what we know so far. 007 First Light is confirmed for PC, PlayStation 5, and the Xbox Series X and S. There's no word on a Switch version yet, which is not so surprising given the scale IO is aiming for. I'm just happy to see they aren't trying to squeeze this onto older hardware. I want this game to melt my GPU with its beauty. Just kidding. With the current GPU and RAM prices, well, I'd want my PC to last a lifetime. Replaying missions until you nail the perfect spy run. Once you finish the campaign, the game isn't over. You can go back into missions with modifiers similar to the escalation missions in Hitman. Maybe this time you have to finish the level without being spotted once, or you have to use a specific gadget to take down your target. This kind of longevity is what keeps a game alive for years. I can already see myself spending hours trying to get the Hitman equivalent for a Bond mission. Being a spy by just talking to people. This is so far the coolest feature for me. Social stealth. We've all watched the movies and we know that Bond is a killer and a charmer too. And so this game will allow you to interact with NPCs in meaningful ways. You can talk to guests at a party to gather intel, or use your charisma to distract a guard while your gadget does the dirty work. Imagine walking through a security checkpoint and simply talking your way through because you found out the guard's boss is in a bad mood. When stealth fails and everything explodes. Sometimes things go south, and in First Light, when they go south hard. The combat system looks much better than what we saw in IO's previous games. My favorite part is definitely environmental destruction. If you're in a gunfight in a parking garage, you can shoot out the fuel tanks of cars to create explosions. Little tricks that turn recon into a puzzle. We will get small tools that will make us feel like a pro. For example, we can use matches and small darts to create noise distractions. And yeah, it sounds simple. However, when you're trying to go through a high security area, these little tricks are your best friend. I love the idea of sitting on a roof with a pair of high-tech binoculars, tagging enemies, and planning my route like a game of chess before I ever set foot inside the building. From Iceland to runways and beyond. The variety of locations is looking top-notch. We know for sure we're starting in the snowy landscape of Iceland, and from there we're probably heading to luxury hotels and also the English countryside. There are hints of even more locations that haven't been fully revealed yet. IO is basically selling you the ultimate spy fantasy. The developers are trying to make the scale of the social world just as important as the shooting. This is the right move. I'm sure you guys will agree as well, because come on, we've had enough shooter games, and what we don't have is a game that lets us inhabit the life of a secret agent. A brand new Bond baddie built for the games. I mentioned Bofma earlier, now let's talk about his role. He is described as a black market smuggler and a warlord, and I think using original characters is a smart play. Other than this game, he's nowhere else to be found, which means he is specifically made for First Light. Now, I'd love to see some famous Bond villains from the movies, but that could have messed up the timeline. Also, having original characters allows the writers to take risks they couldn't take with established movie villains. Bond actually has a mentor this time. In many of the movies, James Bond is a bit of a lone wolf who occasionally gets yelled at by M. In First Light, we're introduced to John Greenway, played by the amazing Lenny James. Now, John Greenway acts as a mentor and handler for James during his early days at MI6, and I think he is a fantastic addition. Third-person Bond, up close and personal. It's been officially confirmed First Light is a third-person stealth action hybrid. I know some people were hoping for a return to the first-person roots of GoldenEye, but honestly, I think third person is the way to go for modern Bond. You want to see the suit, you want to see the way he moves, the way he takes cover, and the fluid animations of the hand-to-hand combat. It allows for a much better sense of environmental awareness, which is crucial for the kind of open-ended levels IO is known for. This story isn't tied to the next Bond move. One thing that has me really relieved is that this is an original narrative. It is not a tie-in for whatever the next movie ends up being. This gives the developers total creative freedom, and they don't have to wait for a script from Hollywood and match the likeness of a new actor who hasn't been cast yet. We all know how messy these things get. Looking at you, Game of Thrones Season 8. Anyways, they are building their own Bond universe from the ground up. The devs say, trust us, it'll be worth the wait. In the middle of some frustrating delays, the developer updates have been very reassuring. They promise that the extra time is being used to ensure the strongest possible version of the game at launch. Shigeru Miyamoto once said, a delayed game is mostly good, but a rushed game is forever bad. If they need a few more months to polish the silver and sharpen the knives, I'm perfectly fine with that. So, why was 007 delayed again? Originally slated for an earlier release, the game has been pushed back to May 27th, 2026. The official reason given by IO Interactive is the need for refinement. They want to make sure every system feels perfect. While waiting another 2 months feels like a gut punch, I respect the honesty. They don't want this to be just a good enough game. Why does the new trailer look like it's stuck at 30 FPS? Now, I have to address the elephant in the room. The recent state of play footage sparked some pretty heavy backlash online. Many viewers were quick to point out that the gameplay looked like it was struggling, with some calling it a lag fest. There are comments floating around and comparing the visuals to the PS3 era, specifically citing inconsistent frame rates and heavy motion blur, almost giving everyone motion sick. It's a bit concerning to see, but calm down, people. We have to remember this is preview code. There's still plenty of time for optimization before the 2026 release date, and I really hope IO is listening to performance concerns. 007 First Light is shaping up to be something special. Now, I don't know about you, but May 2026 can come soon enough. Well, gotta wait anyway. Maybe we can spend our time watching all the Bond movies until then. I guess so. So until then, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you on our next gaming video.